Good afternoon, everybody. It is the 25th of September 2024, and we do continue on up in the S&P 500. We're still riding this 5-day moving average, which is starting to try to break here, and it looks like it is potentially going to try and take some profits and come down to potentially this level of interest down here at 567 and a half. For me personally, it is looking like it's starting to try and play with the 5-day. If it breaks below the 5-day, and then the 5-day moving average starts to flatten out in the next few days, and we kind of get stuck under it, and then potentially tomorrow we see some extra profit taking, then maybe we see a bit of a pullback. But I think it's granted it has run from 538 to almost 572, and yeah, it's time for a decent pullback. We're flirting with the all-time highs. I think it's healthy that the market does pull back. I'm not bearish by any means, but I think pull back, let the 5-day moving average catch back up with it, and then obviously rebuild to make higher highs, and generally just let the rest of the market catch up too, right? We've up a rising 50-day moving average, 20-day moving average, and 50-day moving average, and we're above all other necessarily volume weighted average prices. Looking at the Nasdaq made a new high today in this range that it's currently sat. 50-day moving average will start to rise here in the next couple of days if we continue in this area. 20-day moving average starting to rise. It brings alignment across time frames. Now, again, we're a little overstretched here on the shorter term time frame. 5-day moving average is rising, but we're still holding in this area. We traded under the volume weighted average price for majority of the day, the same we did across most indexes. But all in all, we're still rising. We're still going up on our rising 5-day moving average. Semiconductors had a bit of a stronger day. They had a bit of a push here at the end of the day to get back above that volume weighted average price for the day, still above a 5-day moving average. 50-day moving average will continue to decline over the next few days until we get rid of these 4 days of data. Once we get down to this data here on Wednesday from the 24th of July, that will then start to make the 5-day moving average start to rise. 20-day moving average will start to rise here in the next, starting to flatten, and it will start to rise if we get a bit of a rally above this 249 mark. But generally, broken record, 5-day moving average rising, pretty much going on that. XBI continues to break down. Absolutely fine by me. It's below a declining 5-day moving average. 50 days starting to turn. 20 days start is going to start to turn, and it's going to need some time to repair now before it has another chip away at that breakout. So we'll see what happens, but it's below a 20 and 50-day moving average, below 5-day moving average. It's not something to touch for the next little bit. It needs a little bit of time to pull back, consolidate, let the moving averages catch up, and then rebuild, and then pull those moving averages back up and let the time frames align. That's the best way of looking at it. Like I suggested yesterday, looks like we got caught under the 5-day moving average in the Russell 2000, and we're going to be potentially coming down to this 20-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is now starting to decline, and so is the 20. So even though this looked like a potential orderly pullback, it kept pulling back and never came back. So level of interest probably down at 2216.46. Just keep an eye on the Russell 2000, but generally, we'll see. We may find some buyers, and we may get a decent bounce from the anchor from the Friday, September, or potentially the month-to-date volume weighted average price. Energy names did what they were supposed to. 50-day moving average, 20-day moving average is pointing down. It's back below the 200-day moving average here. Had a rising 5-day, but it couldn't hold because of the moving averages on the 15 and the 20. So it's starting to fail back down again. It looks like it finds support from the month-to-date volume weighted average price. Generally, all in all, it just seems to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. It just needs time to recover. Another kind of lower day for financials. We still haven't broken the trend line here, and then come down to the low, which would be the measured move if we are specifically going to get a double top. But let's just wait and see what happens. We'll see if it breaks this trend line. It breaks the trend line. It's the first signal that this could be potentially heading lower. So keep that in mind. I'm not bearish. I'm not going to be shorting it. It's still above a rising 50-day moving average. Still above a rising 200-day moving average. And obviously the volume weighted average price for the year is still we're still well above that. So it's definitely not one to start to dig into. Bitcoin's doing what I was hoping it would do. It's still kind of stuck in this range. Um, I would like to see it pull back, like I've said on Twitter several times, pull back to that 50-day moving average. It just seems to be consolidating here in a slow fashion, kind of hovering around that potential. I wouldn't say breakout area of 65, which was the recent high. Um, it's doing well, trying to hold in here. We traded under the volume weighted average price for most of the session. Again, I'd like to see it pull back, rebuild, and come with a bigger base and make a bigger move. But again, Bitcoin doesn't care what I want, but that's preferably how I would want it to set up to allow a low risk, high probability trade. Because if it had pulled back, allowed it consolidate, we could potentially buy. Uh, if it pulled back like this, pulled back, built in and started to kind of, do something like this that allow, uh, it would just allow for a low opportunity buy somewhere maybe, over here around the 63k mark, not after it's been extended from 52 to 65. So that would be the preference, but we'll see what happens. Have a quick look at NVDA. NVIDIA took off again pretty well today. It made another high. I see a pattern of higher highs and higher lows. It's gotten going. I was hoping we'd have an orderly pullback to the week to date volume weighted average price, but that's not what we got. We just got a pull. It gapped and it ran up past ADR2, and it closed on the volume weighted average price for the day. There's not a lot we can do about that. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow we get a pullback down to that volume weighted average price from yesterday, and we can buy above today's. We'll see what it goes for the stocks we were looking at as potential trades yesterday. Five looked like it was going to trigger this morning. It triggered below here, but then looks like we got a bit of a squeeze up, still stuck in this range. If you got involved, you would have got stopped out for a full RU loss. That's a risk unit loss for whatever you, depending on what you went in. I also said to make sure it was a half risk unit if you were going to get involved. CGC continued to break down past the enter. So if you entered in here, you would have made 11 cents on the dollar. Had a bit of strength here at the end of the day, but the stock looks like it's generally breaking down. I would say if you're involved, you probably want to move your stop up to about 468. That would probably give it enough room in case we do get a rally up into the 5-day moving average and the volume weighted average price for the week. So if you're involved here, probably move your stop to about 460. Well, let me have a look here. You probably want to put it at about 470 as your stop just up here. COMP failed. Pretty much it tried to get going this morning, just completely failed. Take that one off your list. RMBS, take that one off your list as well. This one didn't rally up. It didn't trigger how I would expect it to trigger. It looked like it got a bit of a rally up to the 5-day and then kind of fell down. If you're involved here, worst case stop I would say at 39.06 for now. Wait till this breaks for a leg lower and then move your stop down to 38.43. And that's it for everything for today, folks. I hope you have yourselves a great Wednesday.